Hey guys, for today's project, I'm going to be transforming this dorm desk into a vanity. This is a great way to utilize what you already have and transform it into something new. And this is a really budget-friendly and damage-free DIY. In my case, I'm going to be making the mirror on top of the desk match the rest of it, so I'll be using a white marble because left alone, it just clashes. So this is something new that I'm trying. It's my first time, so it's more of a before and after than a instructional video. So to start off, I need to make sure that the paper was laid out as straight as possible. And this is a peel and stick that's kind of special. It's not like the rest of the wallpapers that you find because this one is meant for countertops. So it's meant for sinks and any type of surface that's prone to getting wet. And that's fine for me because I'm kind of clumsy and it works out pretty well. Before this project, I didn't really think about getting a scraper tool which could help with air bubbles. So I thought I could just use any type of surface with a flat edge, and that's what I was trying to do with a whiteboard that I had in my room, which actually made it worse. I ended up with a lot of air bubbles at the beginning and I got really frustrated. But I got over it because I wanted to finish, and I figured out that, well, it takes practice. You know, I wasn't going to get it the first time, so I had to keep peeling it off and then sticking it back on and doing it over and over again until I finally felt satisfied with the look of it. So what happens when something isn't really going your way? You have to improvise, and that's exactly what I did. I used this little Clinique bottle that I had laying around, and the surface of the edge was way better than the whiteboard because it was smaller and it was more precise. So I ended up using it for the rest of that layer. When it came to cutting off the edge, I think I made this way more complicated than it needed to be, but it was because I didn't want to cut off too little or too much, and so I guess I was trying to make it even. Before I moved on, I just made sure that there were no air bubbles or no big ones because there were some. I couldn't really get rid of all of them, but the big ones I managed to get rid of. Now I'm moving on to the top layer of the desk, and I'm going to do the exact same thing, which is lay it out and keep it as straight as possible so that it's even. And this is kind of where I figured out that I wasn't going to have enough of this one roll. So just an FYI, you're probably not going to have enough with just one roll if you also get the one off Amazon for about $5. So do anticipate to buy at least 2 rolls if you have a standard size desk in your dorm. By now you've probably noticed that strip of emptiness at the top of the desk, and don't worry if you have the same thing. Just go back to it at the end because you want to make sure you have all the big surfaces, and then when it comes to details, you can come back to it. And now 4 days later, I have another roll. I had to wait because I did this, I think, on a Friday, and I had to wait for the weekend and all that jazz. So now I can finish. As you can see, I have that big gap in the corner, so that's the first thing I'm gonna get done. So now I've finished the top of the desk. It looks pretty good. I'm happy with it. It's not perfect, but for my first time, I'm pretty proud. And now I'm gonna go ahead and move on to the actual drawers. And this was something new to me, but I quickly figured out, hey, why not just stick it on directly to the drawer and then cut off where the edges end. And this time, because it was 4 days later, I had time to buy an X-Acto knife. So now I had this tool, which was amazing, and I'm so happy I got it because it made this project so much easier when it came to this. This part is definitely more detail oriented, so expect to take a little bit more time making sure that the edges are straight and that they're cut clean. So this part should be done probably at the end when you're done with the top of the desk. And like I mentioned before, I made sure to save all the scraps and all the strips that I was cutting off so that I can use it later on for details like the top of the desk that was missing some pieces. So don't throw any scraps away because you might need them later on. This part was probably the hardest because it was so close to the ground. I ended up having to use a ruler just so I can make sure that I cut off enough and not too little, because what I did was I put the layer of paper over what I had already put on. So I wanted to make sure that I cut straight across and not accidentally take off, too little or too much. When it comes to stuff like this, it's really important to take your time and do things with precision, because if you don't, it affects how it looks, and nothing is more satisfying than a project that looks overall really well done. And to wrap things up, I'm just using the strips and the scraps that I saved, and I'm going back into the places that I missed. And in this video, this close-up, you can see the different pieces that I use, but trust me, you can hide them, and it's less noticeable in person. And this is the final look of my desk turned into a vanity. I'm really happy with it because it looks nothing like what it used to. I did go back and filled in the crevices with more paper so that you can hardly see any wood. And now my vanity goes with the rest of my dorm decor, and so it all just goes together really well. I hope you enjoyed this video. I do plan to make some more dorm transformation projects in the future, so stay tuned. Please like and subscribe, and thank you for watching.